Hello and welcome to this week's episode, which is number 88 of StudioTech.tv. And this is the 28th of May, 2013. We are running a remote broadcast today from the North Carolina studio. And we want to welcome everyone for watching live and in the chat room. And also, if you're joining us on YouTube, thanks so much. And remember to subscribe. Now, Studio Tech is brought to you every week on Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern. And 7 p.m. in the UK, and we talk about anything to do with video for the internet. So this week's show, the tease is going to be Alice in Wonderland. We're going to be looking through the glass this week, so we're really excited about this. We have a brand new guest who also is one of our frequent viewers in the chat room. And he's going to be joining us very shortly. But we'd like to talk about Studio Tech Live being brought to you guys by NewTek, Teradek, and also our friends at BitGravity.
BitGravity provides the bandwidth for all the TTFN TV live streams. We continue to receive very positive comments on the quality of the live video, and this combined with outstanding service and support makes BitGravity a great company to work with. So if you're looking for someone to help with your live streaming requirements, check BitGravity out at www.bitgravity.com.
So as I mentioned earlier, we are broadcasting from the North Carolina studio, but we are joined this week, of course, by Mark Johnson. So Mark is in France, and he is at some undisclosed location in a studio in France. So Mark, let's keep our fingers crossed that the Skype connection will queue up and stay going for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I have my fingers crossed. Well, this is not so much a studio as opposed to a corner of a room in my house here in France, in deepest rural Dordogne. And I just did a speed test just to see how we're doing. And I currently have 0.15 up, but that was with Skype running, so it's not all bad. And you can see I am wearing my glasses. I didn't want to be left out with all this talk about glass. So I'm excited and looking forward to tonight's show, and thanks very much for hosting, Vance.
Certainly. You said something about glasses, and I don't know what happened. They just popped on. But I'd like to also thank Peter. Now, Peter is in the UK studio. He is doing the streaming for us today and also pushing some buttons when you see stuff pop up, lower thirds and everything, Peter. So thank you so much for doing that.
And I'm also wearing the glasses. These are reading glasses. Having had 2 cataract operations in the last couple of months, I now need reading glasses. But hey-ho, that's the way it goes. And it's nice to be here again.
All right, great. Well, so for this week's guest, there's been a lot of buzz going on all around the whole video. We do some really fun stuff with video. We talked about and reviewed these glasses here from Pivot Head, did some stuff at NAB. The GizWiz, some folks have seen on the Twit network, uses these for a lot of his video reviews. I mean, he says it's really good to be able to have hands-free, ability to show different things and see from his perspective what it is. These are Pivot Head glasses, and they're not too expensive, so we have a pair of these. But want to bring on our guest for this week, and that is one of the chat room viewers, and has become a good friend of the show and of Mark and mine as well, and that is Robin Cutshaw. So Robin, thanks for joining us, and you're going to talk a little bit about some other cool things, including some glass.
Definitely, and I brought. Thanks for having me. By the way, I brought my new Studio Tech glass. And,
all right,
these are pretty amazing. They're very high tech, polarizing glasses, and that's what we're going to talk about in the show today. All about Studio Tech glass.
And maybe just one other thing as well while you're with us.
Yeah, if we have time, we'll talk about something else.
Well, thanks for joining, Robin. It was it's good to have you here, and it was those of you who might remember our coverage of NAB. Robin was one of our helpers there, and we had a great time with him as well.
That's exactly right. So A couple of things we're going to talk about today before we get into the glass discussion. I probably won't leave these silly things on all the time, but they're actually pretty comfortable. This past week we posted a video review. It was a Studio Tech review that I did here in North Carolina on the One Beyond Stream Machine. Now, the One Beyond Stream Machine is a partnership between One Beyond, who's a computer manufacturer and assembler, Telestream using Wirecast Pro, and also Matrox using the VS4 4-input PCIe input card. So look at the Studio Tech website and also at Studio Tech on YouTube, and you can see that review of some of the interesting things that the Stream Machine does. Now, Mark, do you have any comments at all about the Stream Machine when you took a look at that quick review that I did on it?
I actually, to be honest, I haven't looked at all. I was, as you know, I uploaded it from here, and it took, I think, 6 hours to upload that file. And I just made sure that the audio, everything was working. I'm going to wait till I am back and can watch YouTube videos without too much difficulty, and also have the time, so busy doing other things. But I'm interested to hear what your view was. I mean, when you first showed it on the show, it was a very compact unit. And I'd like to hear just a quick sort of 30 seconds of what you thought of it.
So the bottom line was that I think it's a great portable machine. A couple of my comments were that it was, all built into one, less than $5,000. Everything's built into one, and it's kind of engineered and put together for being a stream machine. So lunchbox size, it's about 13 inches tall, about 6 inches wide. And I think the other dimension is about 8 inches, but it's pretty light, and everything I tried worked really good. Now, one of the things about this, Mark, that was kind of a catch for the VS4 and the Stream Machine is that it has ISO record. Now, this particular machine does 4-channel input with ISO on all 4 of those the inputs. Now, some folks will say, well, what's ISO? ISO is individual recording of each one of your inputs. So if you have one camera coming into input 1, another camera coming into 2, a computer coming into 3, and say a Skype call or something else coming into number 4, you obviously will blend and mix everything together in Wirecast Pro, and you will get a program out or a switched record in Wirecast, just like everyone that has Wirecast Pro has. But the advantage to having this would be that if something happens during the show, which we know things never happen, right, Mark? Then you're able to go back and take the individual input and have those recordings live in real time. So that's the biggest thing. But it is very compact. The unit is controllable via an iPad through almost like a VPN it's not TeamViewer, it's called Splashtop, that will allow you to control the entire operation through a iPhone, iPad, or even another computer. So that worked out really well. Played around a lot with the Splashtop account and controlling Wirecast using the iPad. So, Mark, all in all, I liked it. There was only one negative thing about it, and I think we talked briefly about this, and it's not a big deal, but you may even can hear it running in the background. It's got a lot of fans, or it's got a little fan noise. Other than that, it's been pretty awesome little unit, and the size is great. So that's kind of the 2-minute version. You asked for 30 seconds, but that's a 2-minute version.
Oh, that sounds good. So you can record all the ISO channels, and you can record the output at the same time, and you can sync those without any problem. So if you wanted to, if you were shooting an event and you got some of the cuts wrong, you can re-edit it. Okay.
Well, the syncing, I believe, is you're going to have to do with the audio. We did figure out that you have to link all the audio together to do the syncing. It's a little bit detached between the program out record of Wirecast and the 4 individual ISO records. But syncing all of the audio up or picking all your audio up from one source makes things much easier. So that's kind of how it is. But yeah, for the money, it is SDI input, so you don't have to have converters for HDMI input or for component input if you're using professional grade cameras. And if you're not, then you have to get mini converters to convert from HDMI to SDI, and then you can go into the box. So it is professional connectors, and we sent 4 inputs from the video hub in, so we were able to try multiple videos going, video resolutions, frame rates, and it did a good job on a number of them. Didn't seem to have much problem at all there. So that was good on the Stream Machine, Mark. So far so good on everything that happens there.
All right, that's good. Okay, so I think that's Studio Tech episode number 83. So check it out on the studiotech.tv website or on our YouTube channel. Now, coming up soon is going to be another episode of Studio Tech, a review on this camera here. This is the Canon HF G30. This ships officially, I think, next week or in the next couple of weeks. This is a very early loan review we have from Canon. And as most people who watch this show regularly will know, that in the UK studio, we have Canon HF G10s, which is sort of a couple of predecessors to this camera. We really like the HF G10s and the XA10, which is the semi-professional with a professional version of that camera. And there is a big brother to this as well, which is the XA25, which has SDI output. Vance was just talking about the SDI inputs on the One Beyond Stream Machine, for example. So I've been playing around with this, and I have shot a review, and I really do like this camera. It's been built from the ground up. It has a new sensor, new electronics, new processor, and it even has a thing that Vance likes, which is the little lens flap. And by the way, Vance, I have found out that this does fit onto the XA10. So if we just find out the spare part number, you can order one of these and get that for the XA10.
That sounds great. I'm glad to hear that. That's great. XA10s.
Yeah, so I'm very impressed with this. It's not, it is not as good, for instance, as the Sony PMW 150, but you wouldn't expect it to. It's about a third of the price. So, but it is a great step up. It's an improvement over the HF G10. It's actually much bigger, and it's something I didn't realize when we saw it at NAB. It is, it's probably half an inch, 15 mil so wider, and a little bit longer. So it's a bit chunkier, which actually makes it more stable for handheld work. But it's a great camera. It's some interesting Wi-Fi capability. I mean, a little bit gimmicky, I think, but all in all, a very good camera. So this review should be up next week on the website and on YouTube.
So, Mark, I was just going to show just briefly. I don't want to get into this too deep, but I was just going to show kind of the Stream Machine. It's just Wirecast Pro, and this I have not upgraded this to last week's 4.3 since we do not own the machine. It is a loaner, and it's essentially it is Wirecast Pro, and I'm doing this from a long ways away here, so I'm kind of trying to remember exactly which show source settings, I believe, Mark, is where I want to go. And then it brings up each input, and it shows all 4 of those inputs, right? And look at that. You can even see me doing stuff. And and then we'll come down here and take a look at this. Let's see if I can make this click. There we go. And this is the Matrox Record. Right here, ISO record. And just to give an example, Mark, we see we have 4 inputs, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if any of this is going across on the stream, but you're able to record each one and change the resolution settings. So anyway, I just have a wireless keyboard here and just controlling that computer. But check out the review on YouTube. And like Mark said, that's episode number 83, Studio Tech. So take a look at that. Now, Mark, just at the end of last week, we received another demo unit from Livestream, and it's the HD50. So we will be looking at that in the coming week, and also that will follow right behind that Canon review on Studio Tech. So 84 should be the Canon, maybe 85 be the HD50 from Livestream. So we look forward to that. We have it just across the studio, and if we get a little bit of extra time towards the end of today's show, we may do an unboxing so we can see exactly what that looks like. So Mark, you had something else on the rundown today, and did you want to talk about that from vMix?
Yeah, we mentioned vMix a couple of weeks ago. vMix comes out of Australia. It is a Wirecast-like. It's a software switcher, and we hadn't touched base with them, but we covered it and looked at it. And actually, the guy who writes the software has been in touch, Martin from vMix, and so we're going to be following up on that. And we're probably also going to be having a little competition and give away a couple of licenses for vMix as well. So stay tuned, and we'll cover that in the next couple of weeks. But it's great that Martin has got in touch. It's not particularly popular in Europe. I know a few people use it. We used it, the demo version, for a particular thing that we were trying out, and it seemed to work pretty well. So we'll either have him on the show or record an episode of Studio Tech with him, and so we can share more about vMix with you all then.
All right, so that sounds good. Well, we talk each week about some of the partners that help us out and help us bring this show, Studio Tech Live, to you each week. And one of the sponsors is Teradek, and there was just a recent release of an interface that we've heard about for some time, and that is the integration with Wirecast. Now, 4.3 was released last week from Telestream in the Wirecast line, and now you're able to interface and support units from Teradek, such as the ones that they have showing here. The Stream Reader for Wirecast is available, and I was actually going to. There you go. Yeah, so you can see the components and parts right here coming up on the screen. So you have integration with the Cube and a number of the other ones. The Cube is probably one of the most popular Teradek products, one of the first ones that Teradek released, and being able to bring in the Cube to Wirecast Pro with this new version of 4.3 is a real big plus. So having things like the Bolt and the Cube units, we are finding they're very, very helpful. They offer wireless connectability on the Bolt very close by, and the Cube longer distance. Certainly we try to do, and we do, will next week as well, use the cubes between the North Carolina studio and the UK studio. So we're very pleased with the support from Teradek. So if you get the new version of Wirecast 4.3, the professional version, look for the Wirecast support and Teradek support in Wirecast. And we look forward to a good future with those guys and thank them for their support of Studio Tech Live. So,
yeah, and that plugin from Teradek, the Stream Reader plugin, I think actually it runs on both versions, the professional and the standard version of Wirecast. But the catch is, well, not the catch, but at least for the moment, it is Windows only. So do bear that in mind. So it's a great plugin. I mean, it's easy to connect some of the Teradek products to hardware switches, but much more difficult to software switches like Wirecast. So check out that plugin from Teradek.
So we talked a little bit about what we're going to do this week, and we said, it's about time to jump on to the bandwagon with everyone else, Mark. So, we kind of teased a little bit about the Alice in Wonderland and the glasses. We did this review of these guys from Pivot Head at NAB in Vegas. So what's your thoughts, just kind of from 30,000 feet up in the air, the airplane view, Mark? You've been on a plane a lot recently. I don't think you did this particular time, but looking down from up top, what do you think about all of this hoopla of the glasses and first-person recording? What's your thoughts on it?
I'm more, well, it's interesting. In fact, I heard Eric Schmidt interviewed yesterday. There's a program in the UK called, I think it's Start the Week. It's on a Monday morning on Radio 4, and there may even be a podcast of it. And Eric Schmidt was one of the guests on there. There was a really interesting discussion on, especially around privacy. And, he was saying that he was concerned, and Google is concerned about privacy as well. But I've also heard that some places are saying, they're going to ban people wearing Google Glass. But I think it's two-way. Yes, it has a camera in it, and that's why we're sort of interested. But it's more the screen and the reading of the data that I am interested in. And whenever something new comes up, and there's always concerns, rightly, over privacy. But I'm excited by it. I'm really looking forward to what Robin has to say. But it's not so much the fact that it has a video camera, though that clearly is important. I think it's the information you're going to be able to get. Now, whether we'll ever get to the stage, and maybe some of the privacy issues might stop this, or where you can it'll do facial recognition on somebody and then put their name up. I am terrible at remembering names. I can remember numbers and finance figures normally pretty well, but names, I can meet somebody and I've forgotten their name, within seconds. So having something that just pops up and says, yes, that's George or whatever, I think would be pretty useful.
Okay, so I have a real quick question here. Okay, and this is just kind of my warped sense of thinking. But Mark, you are a glasses wearer, and so is Peter. Okay, so we look at you, and we see absolutely nothing out of the ordinary about you wearing glasses on a day-to-day basis. You may have worn glasses the majority of your life, but I'm wondering the very first time that someone invented the pair of glasses and someone put them on, whether they looked like these or whether they looked like the ones you have on. Do you think that people in society walked around to that person or very small group of people? And I always think about say Bluetooth headsets. When Bluetooth headsets first came out, you were the geekiest person in the world wearing Bluetooth, and some people still hate Bluetooth, but they're more accepted now. And I don't know that they'll ever be 100% accepted in society, but I just wonder, back when the first eyeglasses were invented, were you seen as kind of not a weirdo, but were you seen as different to someone that didn't wear glasses when you wore glasses? And now it's completely accepted. So what do you think? Since you are a glass wearer, what do you think about that?
Well, that's right. I haven't worn glasses all my life. I wore them when I was a kid, and then literally as I came up to 40, I then started to have to wear them. And normally I wear contact lenses because I don't like wearing glasses. So I'm sure that people thought they were strange. But having with something like Google Glass, where you have to wear glasses, and I think there's a version that you can sort of clip on top of normal glasses, or the version that is, in fact, Robin, I'm sure, will tell us about it. I don't know, maybe it'll make wearing glasses trendy again, and I won't mind wearing them so much.
Okay, well, I was just curious because I have not been a glass wearer, and like you say, you get up in age a little bit, and you have to put them on. Unfortunately, it's just something that happens, I guess, and in later years, which we all can show our age. But so let's bring Robin on and let's see what Robin has to say about it. So Robin, you've heard what we've talked about a little bit. So what's your take on everything as far as these glasses, the pivot head regular glasses, and we'll also get into the Google Glass?
Well, as much as I like my Studio Tech glass, I think I'm going to have to switch to the Google Glass. I know it's 2:33, Glass is telling me. And it wanted me to ask it a question. These are very geeky. I got a call from Google a couple of weeks ago that the Glass was ready to go. I went up to New York City. They have a beautiful facility up there, and it's just to introduce you to glass, to fit it, to train you on them. it was an amazing facility. They have champagne and hors d'oeuvres, and they're really doing it in style up there. But you look very geeky. I mean, you can see how geeky these look. And as an experiment for the last couple of weeks, I've just been wearing them everywhere I go. And there's a mixture of stares and awes, and there's a fair number of people that already know what Google Glass is. So they come up to you and say, "Ooh, is that Google Glass?" And I let them try them on, and almost to a T, it's like, golly, wow, that's amazing. When can I get these? They are geeky, but you remember back when only doctors had pagers, and that was kind of geeky, and then everybody had a pager. And then only doctors had wireless phones, bag phones, and then they had phones that would clip onto their belts, and then flip phones. People adopted that technology as it came along. I think that's pretty much the same. Only a handful had smartphones with cameras. Now everybody's got a smartphone with camera. So right now, only a handful has the Google Glass. And those are the folks that attended Google I/O last year and signed up to pay the nice sum of money for the Google Glass. And it took them about a year to get it out. So they, as I said, just before Google I/O, they called me up, and I was really wowed. These are very amazing. And when I'm not wearing them anymore, it's like I'm missing something. I don't have my immediate connection to the world. One of the coolest features is being able to take a picture or a video very quickly. And so I attended a friend's high school graduation recently, and I wore these there and was able to get impromptu pictures very quickly and very high quality. And I didn't have to be fumbling around for my phone and pulling it out and bringing up the camera app and trying to decide what I was going to take a picture of and holding it up everywhere I went. I can just tell Google Glass to take a picture or take a video. I don't even have to touch it. So that's kind of my take on the introduction of it. Vance, are you dying to have these?
Well, I really am. I actually asked if I could buy yours. Does it have SDI out? The chat room's asking, does it have SDI out? Which is, everyone wants to know about SDI out. That's kind of funny. So Robin, that's a good point. On these pivot heads, which they have actually, I've been told, and I don't know if this is true, this is the same image sensor that the iPhone 4 has, made by Sony. But you have two buttons on the top of this. One you press here for picture, and then one for video. So it's kind of a rocker, but you choose which one you want for pictures. So each time that I need to take a picture, and it's pretty high resolution, I have to go click, 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 just like you would if you had a camera phone or a regular point and shoot. Video, I can press the button one time, it starts recording. I don't have anything in my peripheral view like you do on the glasses, but I can, if I look to the extreme left, see a series of blinking lights that tell me I'm recording or whatever. But if you're not careful, you're exactly right. When I press this button, people will see that I'm taking pictures, or unless I just, incognito press the record button for the video, then I can walk around completely hands-free until the batteries go dead. Now, I'm realizing about 45 minutes of battery life with these on their best day. So anyway, I think that's good. So Robin, tell us real quick, if you were at this high school graduation or you're at an event, would you say Google Glass, take picture? I mean, what do you do to actually make it take the picture?
Well, I think we have a video of the how-to that we can probably show that gives you a run-through of what Google Glass does and how you operate it. But it's very simple. You may have seen the Saturday Night Live take on Google Glass where the guy was at the news desk and he was going, peacock, 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 trying to get it to do something. Well, it's something like that. You can set the angle at which it turns on when you raise your head. So right now I've got it set to like 34 degrees, and it just came up with it came on and showed me its user interface, and I can say, okay, Glass. It gives me a menu, and I can do one of many things. And we'll be showing that here in a minute. But if you want to run that video, I think it does a better job than I could do in the rundown.
All right, let's see if we can get Peter to pull it up.
And audio as well, Peter. Yep.
Don't know what's happened to the audio. Maybe there isn't any.
You need to turn it up on the mixer, Peter.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we'll just have to provide a commentary.
So that was a pretty short video, but so Robin, can you tell us a little bit about what we just saw? I was not getting return audio back, but I was able to see kind of the heads up display. So that's a translucent kind of display, right? I mean, you can still see through it a little bit, right?
Yeah, and the point of this is you can probably see there's a little glass area, and that's why it's called glass right here. And there's a projector that's projecting what looks like a 2-foot screen 7 feet out in high definition.
Okay.
So when it comes on, it basically gives you the time, and it allows you to either say, okay, glass, or this side panel is a touch interface. So let me switch over. I'm going to kill some lights here so that you'll better be able to see this. So there's a very interesting application called My Glass for Android phone. This glass only works with Android for now. Imagine that, a Google product that only works with Android. And you bring it up, and it is linked to my device. So I can click on that, and it'll tell you when it was registered, when it last saw it, and shows you the location. Here's my contact information. It's my camera's trying to focus there.
It's probably trying to.
Let's see if I can get it to.
Probably trying to focus on your finger when your finger went across the screen instead of the. Yep.
So.
Still a little bit out of focus. Maybe there we go. There it is.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to slide. So you can see. You can add contacts. One of the issues right now for the developer edition is you can only add 10 of your Google Plus contacts. So I can send messages, text messages, email. I can do Hangouts with any of my friends, but they have to be in my list of 10 friends. You can see the other things that are on here. Google Plus is turned on, so when Google Plus alerts come through, they show up on the screen. When I get a new piece of email, it shows me the header for it. Google Now, which is a really cool piece of technology on the Android phones, and I think they've just released it for iPhone. It keeps track of what you're doing, keeps track of your life. Google knows a lot about you, and they're showing off what they know about you. So you get off the plane, Google Now will send you a message that says, hey, you're 28 minutes from home. You might want to take that alternate route because there's traffic. It also has read your email and sees your flight reservations, and will tell you, it's time to check in for your flight, or your flight's running late. It's amazing the things that Google knows about you these days. I just turned on this New York Times functionality. They've got a Glass app that they push out headlines. So when there's important news that's coming out, it gets pushed out to the Google Glass as well. There's Facebook, Evernote. These are the folks that partnered early on. Tumblr. I can get your tweets. So I need to set it up, Vance, so that every time you send out a tweet that I can see that on the screen. And I've been testing. This is a developer edition, and I'm going to be doing some development for Glass. And so they've got this mirror API that you can go through and start learning how to program and push your own content to the Glass. So one of the really cool features is
darkness.
But now you can see exactly what I'm seeing.
Now that's cool.
So this is the mirroring of the Glass. And let me switch here.
Oh, 84 degrees, I wish.
So you can see right now, all I'm doing is sliding my finger down the edge. It's a little laggy on the application. It's instantaneous on Google Glass. Who's that handsome fellow?
Oh, please. That's a horrible picture.
And the videos that I've taken show up here. There's the New York Times alerts.
So you can play back a video, presumably, can you, Rory?
I can, and I'll get to one of those here in a second. I went to Fry's, and of course all of the salespeople were going gaga over Glass. And so I gave it to one of the salespeople, and he took a picture of the aisle there. And you can see the interface there. I brought up a picture, and this is what it looks like when you tap on it. I can share that picture, which happens to be a bird nest that's right outside my front door, or delete it. Or if I swipe down, it goes backwards in the menu string. Some of the pictures that I've taken, there was an event here in the Atlanta area in Decatur, the Decatur Art Festival this weekend. One of the famous guys there is the King of Pops. He has the most interesting popsicles that you'll ever try.
Wow.
I'll play this. You probably can't hear it.
I hear a little bit in the background.
Can you hear any of that?
Just barely. Don't see anything other than share.
Oh, yeah. I could have...
Yeah, don't delete. Okay, now we see a play.
Yep, so these are just some of the notifications that have come in. There's my congratulations from Fitbit on walking 1,000 miles.
All right.
Some pictures. There I had an order shipped, and it immediately told me from Guitar Center that the order shipped.
That's pretty neat.
So, and there's a tweet coming in from Wirecast about Telestream.
Right.
So all these things come up, and I can very quickly rotate through the interface. Let me show you the more technical interface. You can see there, Atlanta. The settings, I'm connected to the network here. I think it's having a little bit of trouble with...
So this shows where your Bluetooth. So you're linked via Bluetooth to your Galaxy Nexus.
That's one of the cool things. The Glass has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth.
Right.
So if you're at an open hotspot, it knows how to automatically connect. If you're not, then it is Wi-Fi or Bluetooth tethered, rather,
right,
to your phone and uses that for its internet connectivity.
Oh, that's good.
So you've got connectivity everywhere you go. There's the current release of the code, XE5. And they just added the ability in this release, for two people that have glass. Some people are calling them glass holes. I prefer people that have glass.
Right.
They can actually do a hangout together. So they can, just like a Skype call, you can make a one-on-one call to someone else that has Skype. There's the wake-up angle that you can set. You move up.
Right.
When you take them off, it can automatically detect that and turn off. And there's a guest mode, which has lots of interesting videos and features. So invariably, when you're walking around, everybody wants to try them on. Unfortunately, this is linked to your Google account. So it has access to all of your Google.
Right.
People.
Yeah.
You probably don't want everybody looking through all of your information there. So in demo mode, it doesn't have access to all of that.
Sure.
And just try it out.
Cool. All right. Well, that's
It's just a swipe to go forward or backwards.
yeah.
Then to turn it off or to back up one level, you just swipe down and it turns off.
Okay, so now it's just kind of in a sleep mode, right? It's
That's kind of one of the issues. This early version for developers, battery life is not as long as your wireless phone. You know, if I use this constantly, like we're doing right now, it would probably last for 2 or 3 hours.
right.
If you're using it intermittently during the day, I'm getting about 7 or 8 hours. So it's still not a full day. I'm sure they're going to be working on that to bring up the battery life. Let me bring some lights back up here.
So now one thing I know we're going to get a question on is, can you, obviously you put it in mirror mode so you can see on your Nexus device, an Android device, you can see on that device what you're seeing. But you had me join in, or I guess we're going to show briefly, a glass hangout. So the question would be, how do we get what you're seeing onto, say, a broadcast? I mean, how could we get that on to where folks can see what's going on? So I see that you say, okay, glass.
That might be a little difficult to read. Let me bring up the brightness level a bit.
Yeah, I could make that out, but yeah, if you could, yeah, that's good. So yeah, so that's probably a question that we'll have is, you know, if you get the glasses, obviously these are recording directly to an internal RAM flash drive on the inside that you have to plug in a USB, micro USB to, and download what's in the flash drive of these. But with glass, you're able to not only put it in mirror mode, but you can also send that, as Robin was saying, out to someone in a Hangout. So if you can capture the video from the Hangout, then you would be able to essentially broadcast from the glasses to the Hangout and grab it.
So there you see the menu. When you say, let me start from ground zero here. So I'm going to raise my head up. It brings up the interface. I'll say, okay, glass, take a picture. And it just took a picture of the studio here. You can see the bright lights and the mess that's behind the camera. You could also Google something. TTFN TV. Oh, I said Google something. Sorry, Google.
So you need to say Google TTFN TV.
Exactly. You can also record a video, and it normally...
That is pretty impressive.
So there you go. So it's jumping around a little bit.
So these are the options. By default, when I say record a video, you can see that I'm looking around now at my studio. It defaults to, there's my lighting controller. It defaults to 10 seconds for the video, but you can extend it so that it'll continually take a video for as long as you can fill up the 16 gigs that are on it.
Okay, so that was a question in the chat room. 16 gigs is the answer that the glass has built in. I'm assuming that is not expandable through a micro SD card or anything else, right? It's just an internal 16 gigs of flash memory, right, Robin?
Correct. Now, one of the things that it does is whenever you take a photo or video, it automatically uploads it. I just told it to take a video. So there it goes. It's listening to me. It automatically uploads that to your Google Plus account. So it's ready for you to review as a private picture or photo, and then you can release it to any of your social media streams.
All right.
You can see get directions to Kroger. And I'll said 2. See,
up 2.
it's very picky.
Yeah.
You have to say what it wants you to say. So you don't say get directions to, you say get directions and then program. So
Right.
except that last word.
So it's seems to be very neat the way it interfaces, but just like anything else that's in phase 1, beta 1, seems like there's a few things they can tweak, and I'm sure they will, but they do have a lot of things going on there. Well, we are. I'm being called, but before I answer that call, actually, I'm going to answer it real quick. And if you'll give me a second here, Robin, we're going to talk just a little bit about what we use to do some of the switching. So, Mark, if you're around and want to talk a little bit about what we do each week and how we make some of this stuff happen, I'll throw it over to you so you can talk a little bit about our friends at NewTek.
Absolutely. So, as Vance has mentioned, we want to thank our friends at NewTek for their support of Studio Tech Live. We use TriCasters in both of our studios. In the UK, we have a TriCaster 855, and in North Carolina, an 850. Last week, Vance talked about the fact that they have a whole range of TriCasters, from the $5,000 TriCaster 40, which has been a very popular product, right up to the top of the line, all singing, all dancing TriCaster 8000, which retails for around $40,000, £30,000, including the control surface. So we're going to look at the TriCaster 8000. So what is it? It's a 24-channel switcher. It has 8 fully entrant ME rows. A lot of switchers will have one ME or mixed effects bus or 2 mixed effects buses, and the 8000 actually has 8 of them, and you can send the output of one of those buses back into the input of another bus. It supports external routers or routers for support of large-scale multi-camera production. It is, of course, native full-resolution HD. We mentioned earlier about ISO recording, so you can do 8 channels of ISO recording on this. So if you are streaming a live event and some of the cuts weren't quite as good as you wanted, there are 8. You can record up to 8 channels, and you can remix it afterwards. And it provides live output up to 14 different display destinations. 14. And it also has integrated social media capabilities. It is an amazing product. Now, we were very lucky enough in July of last year to have Will Waters from NewTek come and visit the studio in the UK. And so I would recommend, if you haven't seen it, go and check out episode 45 of Studio Tech Live, and you can see some of the things that the TriCaster can do, including some incredibly impressive chroma keying and virtual studios. And they are the things that I wish that we could do with the TriCaster 855. But we can't. And but it is as good as the 855 is. The 8000 is just mind-blowing. So check out episode 45 of Studio Tech Live, and do check out the NewTek website for more information. We do thank our friends at NewTek for their continued support of Studio Tech Live.
So thanks, Mark, and thanks to NewTek. One of the things that we can do with the NewTek TriCaster is something like bring in what Robin is seeing from his Google Glass. Now, Robin has invited me to join a Glass Hangout, and that is, you can see down on the bottom, I'm actually on a studio camera in the thumbnail, which I'm not going to bring up as a full screen, but I am down on the screen right of that with an overhead camera live, and we are also seeing what Robin is seeing in first person. So he's looking over at maybe a Skype computer, looks like it's. So Robin, tell us a little bit about what you're looking at. And we are seeing you, and hopefully still have your audio on Skype, but we're seeing your Google Plus Hangout through the glasses.
Well, you can see my view of the studio here, which I'm using a MacBook Pro Retina with Wirecast to switch between all of the inputs here. And one thing I don't think I mentioned before, the glass is fitted so that it actually doesn't sit in your direct eye line. It sits above, so you have to look up to look into the screen of Google Glass. You have to get used to that. Your eye isn't used to looking up so much, so you do get a little eye fatigue when you first start wearing it. But it keeps it out of your eye line, so it doesn't impair your field of view at all. It just pops up when it needs to, and then it kind of disappears. And after you've worn it for an hour or two, the whole device just kind of disappears. You don't really notice that it's there until some event comes up. A New York Times article comes up or a tweet comes in, and it lets you know that. And it doesn't immediately pop that on the display. It gives you a little audio indication that you have a message, and you can decide to turn it on and look at that message at the time. So it tries not to be too invasive when those push notifications are coming in.
All right. That looks
so Robin. But when you're shooting video, you don't. I guess that's at the normal eyesight level. The actual display is slightly above. So, but shooting, you don't have to look up to shoot video.
Correct. It's angled such that even at the higher angle that you're coming in, the video camera is actually looking straight forward. Although there was a video done at the Twit Network recently where one of the TDs shot a whole show with his glass on, and I wanted it to be down further. There was a lot of activity going on below eye level. So you don't realize how much you really look around with your eyes, not by pointing your head, but just moving your eyes. So, I look down at the keyboard right now. Well, it doesn't look like I'm looking or typing on the keyboard, but when I move down, you can see that I'm actually right at the keyboard interface. So you have to be cognizant of the fact that when you're taking that video, it's taking the video straight ahead, not necessarily what your eye is looking at.
Now, that's a very good point, Robin, because I wondered, and you did mention, I'm actually going to play just a little bit of that, and we're going to talk over it slightly. I don't know that I'll bring up any of the audio. I may, but so what I'd like to do is show a little bit of that video that you were just mentioning, and we can kind of see what Jason Howell was doing at the command center for Twit. So we'll take just a couple of minutes to look at this, and then we're going to wrap things up. But we're not going to do that. Sorry.
I'm here.
Are you there? I thought you were on. I thought you were on DDR1 like this.
No.
Sorry about that. Okay, so here we are looking at what he's seen, and the very first thing I noticed was that everything was a little bit high, and of course he's got some pretty rapid movements. I'll bring up a little bit of audio. So they're obviously showing the show in the top left corner, and everything he's doing, which is really amazing, the way he's controlling.
Tech News Today is brought to you by Shutterstock.
all of this stuff. I mean, it's a little dramatic, but
Shutterstock helps you take your creative.
He's bringing sliders down.
For 30% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code.
So he's bringing sliders up and down, and and bringing in the virtual sets. You'll see a lot of the V stuff. He's hot punching a lot, and moving around at great neck speeds, bringing in things like videos and that kind of stuff. So, Mark, I know you said you saw some of this. What were your thoughts on exactly? I mean, he's scaling, he's changing input sizes and that kind of stuff. What was your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I got bored with it quite quickly. I mean, it's interesting if you want to see. I mean, I guess that we've been there. We've actually seen it in real life. So the video didn't really show us anything that we hadn't seen. But they have some very, very experienced and very slick producers there. It just shows the effort that goes into one of these shows. But the camera angle is really interesting, and it's something I noticed when you first bought those glasses at NAB Bands. I mean, do you remember that you put them on when you were walking down the corridor? I think it's literally back from the show floor. Yep. We were walking to the hotel, and you have to think, I am wearing a camera, because if you pass something that, let's just say there was a nice picture on the wall, your eyes just glance at it, or something is passing that you like the look of, you might not want everybody to know exactly what you're looking at. So I think it's going to be really interesting how people get to use these cameras, whether it's Google Glass or other things that are mounted on your glasses, because it becomes very jerky and not smooth. And we're seeing that in this video here, that you're quickly moving from left to right, and if it's not you that doing it and you're not expecting it, you develop a headache, like people do if they're watching a lot of people playing computer games. If you're not actually controlling it, so know that you're going to move right or move left, you actually can start feeling sick after a while.
Right. Yeah, one of the things I noticed, he's doing so many things at once on this. He's commenting in the chat room. He's bringing in, different graphics and things. He's adjusting the audio. They run 8 different computers from a KVM over on the right on that computer he's pointing to right there for all of their Skype guests and also graphics and web pages. And it takes a lot of talent, like you said, and also someone that can think well ahead of what the next move is, because here he is, back in the chat room again, and then he's back to switching, and he's hot punching virtual inputs, and then back over to adjust the audio, and then listening to everyone anticipating what they're going to talk about, and then bring it up. The CEO of Glass talking about privacy. Mark, you were just mentioning that. So, I think it's really. I think it's something that's certainly very futuristic at this point. But the one thing I did notice, and you're right, Mark, is that he's actually probably having to look down, like what Robin was just saying. I noticed there was a lot of times that we just saw what was straight in front of his view. But I did find it pretty interesting, generally, because we know what he's doing and what buttons he's pushing on that control surface and what they do. But if you watch it really closely, you can see he's really doing a lot of stuff. Gives
you a greater appreciation of what Peter does, and Vance, what you're doing today.
It does.
I feel really very humble. I feel very humble.
I mean, he's all tabbing between different computers, and there again, you're not seeing him. You can't quite see him push the KVM on the far right, but there was an alt tab there going to another Windows screen. He's now adjusting the scale of inputs to make sure they match to full screen on when he brings in the graphics to roll. And he's going to scroll up and down as they're talking about it. So it's a lot of what we do right now behind the scenes, and then as they go to another topic, he's bringing it in on a take, and then also having to queue up the right person, the right video, and that's where I have a whole lot of problems. So Peter's done it a whole lot more than I have, but there's just a lot of buttons to push and a lot of things. As you can see, he's constantly pushing buttons. It's almost like playing a piano or organ or something, So I was pretty intrigued by this, but like you said, Mark, we've seen it a number of times, and we really have to say, hey, it's it's difficult stuff to do sometimes, but it is neat to see what's going on in the background behind the scenes. So, Mark, you have anything else to say or comment on about these glasses? Have you ordered a pair of them yet?
Well, you can't order them, can you? They're going to be next year. Originally, I think they said end of 2013, but all the latest indications are that they're going to be next year. I think, Robin, you're one of, is it 1,600 or 1,800 people who have them? So we're very lucky to have you on the show. And tell us, what is your? Apart from that, they're a great gadget. You said you're going to be doing some coding for them. Do you have some projects in mind?
I do. big into amateur radio. So imagine that you're talking to folks all over the world on amateur radio, and their call sign and their pictures popping up. And the last time you had a QSO, they bring up their QRZ page, and you can see information about them. I think there are a lot of interesting applications there, and just in general, in everyday life. As you said, I want to be able to see the name of the person that I'm talking to, or I'm walking down the street and I want to see, what's that building? There's just so many different applications, and it's really sounds kind of hokey, but it's limited by the imagination of the developers at this point.
Right. So does it have a GPS in, or is it reliant on the connection to your phone to get that sort of information?
It does have a GPS. So when I tell it, okay, glass, get directions to, or without the to, as we saw, it plots that using the internet connection that it currently has and uses the GPS on board. And one of the really cool features is when you tell it you're in walking mode, it tracks the map to your head. So as your head moves, the map tracks with it. And that's one of those virtual reality ooh-ah moments.
That's actually pretty cool, Robin. There's a lot of people don't know about it, but and I mean some do, but in Google Maps, there's a little triangular blue arrow in the bottom left corner on your mobile phone, and if you press that, the orientation of your telephone based on the accelerometer and GPS actually, as you move your phone to say point down this street or up this street or over this street, changes your perspective. So when you're walking forward that you're going the right direction when you're using it for walking direction. So in large cities such as New York, Chicago, or even London, when I went over to visit Mark in London, we would hit the blue arrow. I would. He knew where he was going. I didn't. And you can actually see which street and which direction you're heading. So I guess that's what they're using. It does have accelerometer and GPS in it. So that's pretty interesting that as you move your head and you look down North Street, and then you turn your head back the other way and you see down South Street, if you start walking, the map will actually show you walking the correct direction down South Street. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to using them at the conference this fall in Amsterdam.
Right. Yeah, that'll be good because if anything like last year, we'll be hopping around from all different types of buildings all over.
I'm also heading out
you could get into a lot of trouble going to Amsterdam with Google Glass, depending on which bit of Amsterdam you went to.
Well, that's probably for another show. But Mark certainly did a good job of scheduling our stuff in Amsterdam, so I'm going to let him talk about that. But we had a lot of movement. But guys, we're getting close to the end of the show. So, Mark, what do you think in some closing comments of what we've seen today?
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank Robin. I mean, that really has been interesting. I mean, this is a real insight into the sort of technology I think we will all be using within a few years. As Robin said, I mean, people, as the new technology comes along, a few people have it, and then it rolls out. And I can see some really good uses for it, especially in switching, some behind the scenes stuff as well as shooting video. But I'm certainly looking forward to getting my hands on them if and when they are launched, because who knows what will happen. So anyway, Robin, thanks very much indeed. Vance, thank you for switching, and Peter, thanks for being back in the studio. I will be back in the UK next week, so normal service, whatever that might be, will be resumed next week.
All right, Mark, thanks. It was really great that you could join us, and that bandwidth held up. And there again, Robin, we'll bring you up one more time to say thanks. Thanks for doing all of your switching with Wirecast. Shows that that works great as an application. Thanks so much for the Google Glass. And as Mark just said, thanks to Peter for pushing some other buttons. So we had a lot of button pushing going on here today, guys. Please, as we say each week, watch us live if you can. Please join into the chat room. We're live each Tuesday 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. in the UK. And we try to bring forward some interesting topics and guests each week, and also product reviews that have to do with studio, video, and everything else to do with just the new and cool stuff on the internet as it relates to video. So please send us your studio pictures and or video. We've gotten some, and we really appreciate those. You can get them to us in a number of ways, but please continue to do that. And we'd really like to appreciate that. We'd like to say thank you to everyone, and do appreciate everyone watching us both live and on YouTube. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. You can follow Mark at TTFN TV on Twitter. You can follow me at Vance Willis. Today's guest was Robin Cutshaw. You can follow Robin Cutshaw at Robin, ROBIN CUTSHAW on Twitter. So that's it for this week. Thanks so much, and we will see you next week. Goodbye for now.